As promised to that all-important Mining Indaba, we cross now to Cape Town for our regular coverage of the 2013 Indaba, where Chris Bishop is standing by with MS Mehta, Chief Executive of Vedanta. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Karima. So welcome back to the third day, a very busy day too, of the Mining Indaba in Cape Town. Now what we're trying to do here is to get some sort of sense on where investment is going in mining in Africa after all the talks and all the presentations of the last 3 days. And here we have, with me here, I have Kishore Kumar. He's the CEO of Zinc International, which is part of the massive Vedanta Resources Group, which is operating in Africa. And what I want here is some sort of insight on exactly which way mining is going in Africa. Welcome to the program. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening, Chris.
And just give us an outline first, briefly, of your operations in the continent.
We have been present in this continent since 2004 with our flagship assets in Zambia, which is the Konkola copper mines. And we have been there for the last 9 years, and we have completed the investment of $2.5 billion of investments in both the smelter, refinery and the mine. And we are present in Namibia and South Africa with the additional investment that we have done of almost $1 billion in assets of Scorpion and Roshpina.
So you're big players in mining on the continent. From all that you've been hearing here over the last 3 days, what sort of sense are you getting about the opportunities and pitfalls of mining in Africa?
Africa is, of course, a land of opportunity for everybody to come here, but the biggest area where I would like to be cautious is that in this continent, the infrastructure needs to be substantially upgraded by the government to support further investments, and private sector and government can play a substantial role in terms of partnerships, especially in the energy and in the sector of building roads and ship ports. I believe there's a long way to go in terms of building these capabilities for all the mining companies to be able to harness the potential which these continents have to offer.
Well, one of the issues that's been prevalent here over the last few days is that a lot of companies like yourself appreciate that you're going to have to contribute more and more into the government coffers in the countries that you operate. Have you factored that into your business?
See, as long as the policy clarity comes from the government in terms of what exactly is expected of the long-term investor who comes in mining, it makes our life very easy. But these, the kind of responses that come now and then without complete clarity makes our life very difficult in terms of appreciating the project viability. So that is very important as an important milestone for the governments to clarify the policy.
I mean, taking it overall and looking at the picture, what sort of risks are you seeing in mining in Africa right now?
The risks largely come from the capacity to keep operation at low cost, and therefore the scale will become very important for the mining companies to manage, followed by skill and competency development for the respective mines in terms of upgrading the labor and the skills and bringing productivity as one of the tools for managing operations. And finally, the government's coming clear in terms of giving us guidance on the policy level interventions.
And what about the great power problem that everyone's talking about? Every mining operation is getting short of power on this continent.
Oh yes, I mean the beneficiation story is never complete without a proper addressing the power requirement. And going forward, I would say is that the best way for South Africa is to really bring the PPP and IPP projects into fruition and allow some of the large power players in the world to come and invest in some of the coal blocks to actually produce, beneficiate and deliver power at sustainable costs for the mining companies to convert the ore and resources into the metal, and that too at a competitive price, because you are competing with all the BRIC nations. So it is important for South Africa to realize their potential in maximizing their beneficiation story internal.
Now, one of the great success stories of African mining has been the revival of the copper industry in Zambia. It was on its knees just over 10 years ago, 120,000 tons a year. Now it's more than 1 million. Now your mine, Konkola mine, is part of this. How much further do you think the industry's got to go in Zambia before it reaches saturation point?
No, Zambia has been, fortunately Zambia embarked on the policy change way back in 2002, and since then Zambia has not looked back. They have encouraged private investors to come in practically the Kolwezi, Solwezi as well as in the Chingola region, and many of these assets like the KCM, who were not doing well in terms of the cost structure, have since then been revived, and they have consistently been upgraded and the country is producing 1 million ton, and there's more upside potential in terms of the country's ability to ramp up the copper production. And we always believe that Zambia could be the next Chile to look forward to in terms of copper production.
And what about zinc, one of your core businesses as well, which you've got up in Namibia? Do you think that's a metal, a mineral of tomorrow?
Zinc will have a very bright potential, and zinc is largely used in galvanizing steel. So we firmly believe that the African continent, between Scorpion Zinc in Namibia as well as Black Mountain, we have a significant contribution to make to the world supply. And in the next 3 to 4 years, large mines are coming under closure, especially Century Mine in Australia, and then you have the Brunswick and the Lisheen mines in Ireland, with a closure capacity of 1 million ton coming in the next 4 to 5 years, ramping up Hamsburg in Northern Cape and Scorpion Mine to a higher capacity would be which we'd like for us to do.